Queen Zarina of the Krelian Empire sat alone in the high chamber of her starship, watching the distant stars streak past the viewing window. The hum of the engines beneath her was the only sound. In the cold, dark emptiness of space, she felt a loneliness that had grown heavier with every passing year. Her people, the Krelian aliens, were proud and ancient. They prized beauty above all else. Strength, intelligence, courage, these were secondary, almost irrelevant. And Zarina, despite her wisdom and leadership, had always been considered ugly. Her scales were duller than the shining, polished bodies of other Krelian royals. Her eyes, large and expressive, were not the deep jewel tones her people admired. Her face, though strong, lacked the symmetry that Krelian culture demanded. Many had whispered about her behind her back. Many more had openly rejected her offers of alliance or marriage. And now, even her advisors had become cautious, afraid to be seen with her in public. She had grown used to rejection, yet it never became easier. Today had been another humiliation. On the planet Virella, she had presented her fleet's plan for a joint mission with a neighboring species. The Council of Virella leaders had laughed at her, calling her ideas bold but naive, all while glancing at each other with barely concealed contempt for her appearance. Zarina had smiled politely, masking her anger, but inside, she felt the familiar sting of isolation. "I should have stayed in Krelia," she muttered softly, touching the railing of her chamber. "At least my people would not mock me as openly." Yet even on Krelia she had faced rejection. She remembered the gatherings, the councils, the grand ceremonies where potential allies and suitors would glance at her and shake their heads. Each no had chipped away at her hope. But Zarina was proud. She did not give up easily. She was a queen, after all, and a queen fought even when the odds were against her. Her solitude was interrupted by a soft chime. A small hologram flickered to life before her. It was one of her trusted aides, a slender alien named Tyrax, Your Highness. Tyrax said carefully. "The repairs on the secondary engines are complete. We can depart for human space within the hour." Zarina nodded. "Good, set the course. We cannot linger here any longer. The Virulent Council grows impatient and their ridicule grows sharper by the hour." Tyrax hesitated. "Your Highness, there is news from the human fleet. Ambassador Cole has been informed of our approach. He wishes to meet with you." Zarina raised an eyebrow. Humans were known for being unpredictable. They were small in number compared to the Krelian fleets, but their technology was clever, and their ways were different. She had heard stories of humans treating leaders and commoners equally, valuing character more than appearance. It was almost unheard of in her galaxy. "Very well," she said. "Prepare a message to him. We will meet when we arrive." As the engines hummed and the stars stretched into long streaks, Zarina allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. She wondered about humans. Could they truly be different? Could someone value her for who she was and not what she looked like? She had long given up hope, but a small spark of curiosity remained. The journey to human space was uneventful, yet tense. Zarina and her crew moved cautiously, aware that rival factions in her galaxy might take advantage of her weakened position. She had learned to expect betrayal from those who once claimed loyalty. Every time she had extended a hand in trust, she had been met with rejection or mockery. Finally, the Krelian fleet entered the human-controlled sector. The colors of human stations and ships were unfamiliar, bright, practical, and unpretentious. Zarina felt an odd sense of relief. No one here would greet her with immediate judgment. She would at least have a chance to be seen differently. A human ship approached, sleek and functional, with lights that pulsed softly across its surface. From it, a figure appeared, a tall human man with dark hair and clear eyes. He wore the uniform of a captain, crisp and professional, but there was something in his posture that suggested confidence without arrogance. Zarina's aides whispered among themselves, cautioning her. Humans could be unpredictable, and she had no idea what to expect. "Greetings, Queen Zarina," the human said, his voice steady and calm. "I am Captain Adrian Cole. Welcome to our space." Zarina inclined her head politely. "Captain Cole, I appreciate your welcome." She had expected polite words at best, perhaps veiled judgment at worst. Instead, there was a hint of curiosity and respect in his tone. She found it refreshing. "We understand your fleet has suffered some damage," Adrian continued. "We are prepared to offer assistance. Repairs, supplies, anything you need." Zarina's eyes narrowed slightly. Most species would have demanded payment, loyalty, or tribute. Humans and offered help freely, without judgment. Your generosity is noted, she said carefully. Many have turned me away before. Adrian tilted his head. I do not understand why. You are a queen, and your fleet shows strength. I see no reason for rejection. Zorina felt a strange warmth. No one had ever spoken to her like this. Not with honesty. Not without hidden agendas. Tyrax leaned slightly forward. Your Highness, they are prepared to escort our fleet to the repair docks. They offer full support, Zorina nodded. Very well. Prepare to dock. We will see what humans truly offer. The Krelian fleet moved into the human station, scanning for threats. There were none. Humans directed them efficiently, giving orders with calm authority. Zorina observed quietly, impressed by their organization and speed. She had faced countless species that demanded respect or intimidated with strength. Humans commanded it differently. They inspired it. Adrian appeared again on the observation deck, this time closer, studying her. If I may ask, he said, how have you endured the treatment of your own people? To be rejected, humiliated,
yet still lead with such poise?
Zorina's jaw tightened. It was a question she had asked herself for years. I endure because a queen must, she said. I endure because survival depends on it. I endure because I have no other choice, Adrian nodded slowly. That is admirable. For the first time in years, Zorina felt the weight of loneliness lift slightly. Here was someone who did not mock her, who did not care about her appearance, who valued her for her mind and leadership. It was unfamiliar but not unwelcome. That night she stood alone on the observation deck looking at the stars. The human station was quiet, a soft hum of energy around her. She thought of the years of rejection, the countless proposals refused, the whispered insults in corridors and council halls. Yet now for the first time she felt a possibility. Perhaps, she thought, there were beings in the galaxy who saw beyond surface beauty. Perhaps there was a chance to be appreciated for who she truly was. The sound of footsteps drew her attention. Adrian appeared beside her, hands clasped behind his back. Queen Zorina, he said softly, if you wish, I can show you around the station. There are places even our diplomats rarely see. She considered declining, wary of attachments and surprises. But curiosity won. Lead the way, Captain, she said. As they walked through corridors filled with lights and technology, Zorina realized something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. Hope that perhaps, just perhaps, she might find acceptance. And maybe, even friendship. But even as she allowed herself to feel that hope, Zorina knew the galaxy was not kind to those who were different. Rival factions watched, waiting for a weakness. The path ahead would not be easy. She would need allies. She would need courage, and she would need to trust. The next morning, Queen Zorina awoke to the soft hum of the human station's energy core. Light from the observation deck spilled across her chamber, illuminating the pale, smooth walls. Unlike the grand halls of Krelia, this place was simple, functional, yet filled with a quiet elegance. There was no pomp, no unnecessary decoration. Here, usefulness and intelligence were valued over appearance. Zorina dressed carefully, her hands brushing over the dull scales of her shoulders. She had spent a lifetime hiding her insecurities behind her queenly poise, but now, among humans, she felt the faint stirrings of something unfamiliar. Comfort. She was not being judged here. Not yet. Tyrax appeared, as always loyal and cautious. Your Highness, he said, Ambassador Cole awaits your presence. He has arranged for a tour of the station and an introduction to the engineers who will repair our fleet. Zorina nodded. Very well. Let us see what these humans can do. The corridors of the station were filled with activity. Humans and alien visitors moved side by side, communicating in a language that was both clear and efficient. Zorina noticed the difference immediately. There was no pretense, no obsession with status. Even the engineers, their clothes marked with oil stains and tools, held an air of quiet pride in their work. Adrian Cole met her at the main docking bay. His uniform was clean, but he carried a tool belt over one shoulder, a symbol that he worked with his hands when necessary. His dark eyes, steady and bright, met hers. Queen Zorina, he said with a polite bow, welcome to the station. I hope you find it different from what you are used to. Zorina studied him. His tone was respectful but not distant. It is efficient, she said carefully. Not ostentatious. I can appreciate that, Adrian smiled faintly. Efficiency can be beautiful, Your Highness, though in a different way. Zarina allowed herself a small smile, a rare gesture she reserved for those who earned it. Lead the way then, Captain. I am curious. The tour began in the engineering bay. The human engineers worked methodically on the Krelian ships, their hands deft and sure, adjusting panels, repairing circuits, and calibrating weapon systems. Zarina watched, fascinated. She had commanded fleets for decades, yet she had never seen such combination of speed, intelligence, and precision. One engineer, a young human woman, noticed Zarina observing. Your ships are impressive, she said, but some of your systems are outdated. We can fix them. Zarina inclined her head. Then fix them. Efficiency is what matters most. Adrian glanced at her, a faint look of admiration in his eyes. He clearly appreciated her decisiveness. We will have your fleet ready in short order, Your Highness, he said. As the hours passed, Zarina began to notice something she had never seen before. Humans treated her differently than any other species. They did not flinch at her appearance. They did not whisper behind their hands. They judged her by her choices, her command, her intellect. It was almost unbelievable. In the afternoon, Adrian led her to the station's strategic observation deck. From there, she could see the repairs being made on her fleet, each ship carefully attended to by human engineers. The ships glimmered under the station's lights. And for the first time in years, Zarina felt a flicker of pride, not for herself, but for what her fleet could become with help. This is impressive, she admitted softly. Adrian smiled. We believe every fleet deserves the chance to survive, Your Highness. Beauty is irrelevant when it comes to strength and skill. Zarina's heart skipped a beat. The words were simple, yet they carried meaning she had long thought impossible. A species, an individual telling her that her worth was not determined by looks. Just as she was beginning to relax, a warning light flashed on the observation deck console. Tyrax rushed forward. Your Highness, sensors detect multiple unidentified ships entering the sector. They bear the mark of the Felric faction. Zarina's eyes narrowed. The Felric faction was a rival Krelian group, bitter and aggressive, always ready to challenge her authority. They had been following her fleet ever since her departure from Virella. Their goal was clear: seize or destroy her before she could form alliances with humans. Adrian observed the readings calmly. They are close, likely planning an attack. You will not be able to evade them entirely. We must prepare to defend you. Zarina's pulse quickened. She had faced attacks before, but never with outsiders defending her. Are your forces sufficient? She asked. Adrian's eyes met hers, steady and confident. For now. Humans may be fewer in number, but we are not weak. Strategy, precision, and teamwork can overcome numbers, Tyrax whispered nervously. Your Highness, they may underestimate humans, but the Felric will not. Zarina turned to him, her voice firm. Let us not underestimate them either. Prepare the fleet for potential engagement. I will coordinate with the humans. The next hours were tense. Zarina and Adrian worked side by side, issuing commands to Krelian ships while humans reinforced their positions. She found herself impressed by Adrian's calm under pressure, his ability to think clearly and act decisively. It was rare to see a leader who could remain composed in the face of danger. As the Felric ships approached, Zarina and Adrian watched them from the observation deck. The rival Krelian ships were sleek and menacing, their weapons primed. But the humans did not falter. Their ships moved in coordinated patterns, positioning themselves to shield Zarina's fleet. Zarina felt a surge of admiration, and something more, for the humans. They were risking themselves for her, for a queen they barely knew. No one had ever done that before. The battle began with sudden intensity. Energy beams lit up space, striking against the hulls of approaching Felric ships. Explosions rocked the void, yet the human fleet maintained formation. Adrian's commands were precise, moving their forces strategically to protect Zarina's ships while minimizing damage. Zarina's heart pounded. She had led fleets into battle countless times, yet this was different. She was not alone. She was not rejected. For the first time in years, she felt that someone truly valued her, her life, her leadership, her worth. Amid the chaos, Adrian's ship maneuvered alongside Zarina's flagship, offering additional shielding. He signaled to her with a calm gesture, indicating that her fleet could move safely while humans intercepted the attackers. Zarina's eyes met his, and for a moment, the battle seemed to fade. There was trust there, mutual and unspoken. She nodded, issuing the command to move forward. Together with humans and her own Krelian ships working in harmony, they drove the Felric faction back. When the last Felric ship retreated, Zarina allowed herself a moment of relief. Her fleet was battered but intact, and she had seen something remarkable. Humans did not care about her appearance. They cared about her strength, her courage, her mind. Adrian approached her later, his uniform marked by the battle but his expression calm. "Your Highness, the Felric have been driven off for now. Your fleet is safe." Zarina inclined her head, a rare smile breaking across her face. "Thanks to you. And your people." Adrian shrugged lightly. "We do not help for thanks. We help because it is right. You have proven yourself a capable leader. That alone is enough to earn respect." For Zarina, the words resonated more than any praise from her own people ever had. She realized that humans were different, that they valued what truly mattered, and she began to see a future she had never imagined, one where rejection was not inevitable, where her worth could be seen clearly. That evening, she stood once more on the observation deck, watching the stars streak by. Adrian joined her, offering a quiet presence that spoke more than words. "Humans are unlike any species I have encountered," she said softly. Adrian smiled. "We value action and integrity over appearances. You have shown both, Your Highness. That is why we fight for you." Zarina considered his words, letting them sink in. Perhaps this was more than an alliance. Perhaps this was the start of something new. Trust, respect, maybe even friendship. And for the first time in a long while, she felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. The Krelian fleet had been repaired and resupplied thanks to the humans' skill and dedication. Queen Zarina stood on the observation deck of the human station, looking at her ships lined up in formation. They gleamed under the soft station lights, sleek and ready for action once more. For the first time in many cycles, she felt hope, and not the fragile, fleeting kind she had grown used to. This hope was steady, like the pulse of a strong heart. Captain Adrian Cole approached, his footsteps quiet but confident. "Your Highness," he said, "all ships are operational. Engineers assure me that your fleet is as strong as it can be for the coming weeks. You will have no reason to fear technical failure." Zarina nodded. "Good. We cannot let weakness show even for a moment. Enemies will exploit it without hesitation." Adrian's eyes studied her, noting the faint tension behind her composed expression. "You have endured much, Your Highness. Yet here you are, still leading, still unbowed. That is rare." Zarina allowed herself a small smile. "Leadership is not about being liked, Captain. It is about survival and strategy, and yes, endurance." As they walked through the station, a warning alert sounded. The station's communication console blared with the signature of Felric ships, the same faction that had attacked her fleet before. "They have followed us," Zarina said softly, her jaw tightening. "They will not rest until they strike us down." Adrian activated the station's tactical display. Multiple ships were entering the sector. "They are closing in fast, likely expecting an easy fight." Zarina studied the holographic map. "They do not understand humans or their ways," she muttered. "They underestimate us. That is their first mistake." The next few hours were a tense preparation. Humans coordinated with the Krelian fleet, assigning positions, defensive patterns, and escape routes. Zarina observed quietly, learning how humans fought differently. Unlike the aggressive tactics of her own people, humans relied on strategy, precision, and coordination. Every movement was calculated, every risk measured. Finally, the Felric ships appeared in full force. They were faster, more numerous, and heavily armed. Their officers barked commands, confident that the Krelian queen would falter under pressure. They had no idea what they faced. Adrian's voice came over the communication channel. "Maintain formation. Focus on defense first. We strike only when an opening appears." Zarina's pulse quickened. She had faced countless battles before, but never like this. She was no longer alone. Humans fought beside her, risking themselves for a queen they barely knew. It was both inspiring and unsettling. She was not accustomed to trust without conditions. The battle began with sudden intensity. Energy beams lit up space, striking against the hulls of the approaching Felric ships. Explosions scattered debris across the void. Zarina's fleet moved in perfect coordination with the humans, executing maneuvers she had not imagined possible. A Felric cruiser broke through the perimeter and headed straight for her flagship. Zarina's heart pounded. She issued commands quickly, adjusting shields and weapons, but it was the human strike team, led by Adrian, that intercepted the cruiser. They disabled its engines with precise energy pulses, forcing it to retreat. Zarina could not help but feel admiration. Humans were clever, fearless, and loyal. They did not falter even when the odds seemed against them. And they were fighting for her. During a brief lull in the battle, Zarina communicated with Adrian. "Why do you risk so much for me?" she asked, her voice tense but curious. Adrian's expression remained calm. "Because it is the right thing to do, Your Highness. You are a leader, and leaders deserve respect. You have earned ours through your actions, not appearances." Zarina stared at him, unprepared for the weight of his words. Respect, appreciation, loyalty. These were concepts she had only dreamed of experiencing. And here they were, offered freely by someone she barely knew. The battle resumed with renewed intensity. Felric ships attempted to flank the human Krelian formation, but Zarina had anticipated their moves. She gave precise commands, positioning her ships to create bottlenecks and ambush points. Humans adapted seamlessly, following her instructions and adding their own ingenuity. One of Zarina's cruisers took heavy damage. Crew members were injured, systems failing. Panic threatened to spread, but Adrian's team acted swiftly, deploying drones to stabilize the ship and assist the crew. Zarina realized then that humans did not hesitate to help, even when it was dangerous. As the Felric forces began to retreat, Zarina allowed herself a deep breath. Her fleet was battered but intact, and the humans had proven themselves as invaluable allies. She had expected assistance, but not loyalty of this depth, not care. Later, in the station's observation lounge, Zarina and Adrian stood side by side, watching the remnants of the battle fade into distant stars. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with unspoken understanding. "Your fleet performed well," Adrian said, "but it was your leadership that made the difference. Your decisions kept everyone alive." Zarina's jaw tightened, a mix of pride and lingering doubt in her expression. "I am a queen," she said softly. "Leadership is my duty, yet I have always been alone in it. Until now." Adrian's gaze met hers, steady and unwavering. "You are not alone, Zarina. Not anymore." The simple word struck her harder than any battle had. She had spent centuries facing rejection, betrayal, and ridicule. She had been abandoned, underestimated, and ignored. And yet here was a human speaking truth, loyalty, and kindness. It was almost overwhelming. Over the next few days, Zarina spent more time with the humans. She observed their methods, learned their strategies, and shared knowledge of Krelian technology and tactics. There was a growing bond between them, built on mutual respect and understanding. Zarina began to see humans not as strangers, but as allies, perhaps the first true allies she had ever had. Adrian, for his part, was patient. He did not push for friendship or closeness. He allowed Zarina to see the humanity in him through actions rather than words. His loyalty was constant, his guidance steady, his concern genuine. One evening, as the station's lights dimmed for rest cycles, Zarina stood alone on the observation deck. She gazed at the stars, thinking of the Felric, of her own people, and of humans. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and filled with those who valued only appearances. Yet here, in this small human station, she had found something she had thought impossible: acceptance. Adrian joined her quietly, standing a few steps behind. He did not speak at first, allowing her thoughts to settle. "You have changed my view of humans," Zarina said finally. "I expected judgment, fear, or ridicule. Instead, I have found respect, loyalty, care." Adrian smiled faintly. "We value action, courage, and integrity. Those are qualities you have in abundance, Your Highness. Beauty is secondary." Zarina's lips curved into a small, genuine smile. For the first time, she felt a spark of something she had long denied herself. Trust. She trusted humans. She trusted Adrian. And slowly, she began to trust herself in this new reality. The warning alarm sounded again, signaling that Felric scouts were near. Zarina's hand tightened on the railing, not in fear but in readiness. She was no longer alone. Humans fought for her, not for reward or fear, but because they believed in her. That knowledge gave her strength she had never known. "Captain," she said, her voice calm but firm, "we must prepare. The Felric will test us again, but we will not falter." Adrian nodded. "Together we will face them. You have my word." As the stars outside stretched endlessly, Zarina felt a deep sense of resolve. The galaxy would not easily accept her, but she had found allies who saw her true worth, and perhaps for the first time in her long and lonely life, she realized that she could not only survive, but thrive. The test of loyalty had begun, and she had passed. The Felric threat had been driven back, but Queen Zarina knew the galaxy would not remain quiet for long. News of her alliance with humans spread quickly through the Krelian Empire and neighboring systems. Whispers of disbelief, mockery, and anger followed her fleet wherever it went. A queen, they said, should never rely on outsiders, especially humans, a species they considered weak and unpredictable. Zarina, however, had long grown used to judgment. The only difference now was that she no longer faced it alone. By her side, humans moved with precision, offering support, guidance, and courage. Captain Adrian Cole had become a steady presence, a partner not just in strategy but in vision. And for the first time, Zarina allowed herself to feel that perhaps there was more to the galaxy than rejection. The Alliance's first formal demonstration came when Zarina convened a council of alien leaders on a neutral space station. Representatives from multiple species gathered, some curious, some skeptical, some openly hostile. They stared at her with the usual mixture of disbelief and disdain. The human ships that accompanied her fleet drew attention, their designs unlike anything the council had seen before. Zarina entered the chamber with confidence, her presence commanding despite the murmurs. She had learned the lessons of solitude. Strength came not from appearance but from action, intelligence, and determination. Adrian followed at her side, a symbol of the unusual but undeniable bond between their peoples. "Representatives of the council," Zarina began, her voice steady. "I am here to present a new alliance, one not based on appearances or vanity but on trust, strength, and shared purpose. Humans have assisted me in repairing my fleet, defended my people, and proven themselves loyal and capable allies. They have shown what true partnership can achieve." A wave of murmurs passed through the chamber. One elder of a prominent alien race stood abruptly. "Your Highness," he said, his tone sharp, "you are a Krelian queen. Why would you align with humans, a species far weaker than our own? It is unprecedented and foolish." Zarina met his gaze. Unprecedented? Perhaps foolish? Only if one judges worth by appearances. Humans have proven that strength comes from courage, ingenuity, and loyalty. They have risked themselves for my fleet, for my people, and for the future we can build together. Another voice called out, louder this time. "And what of your own people, Queen Zarina? Have you forgotten the laws of Krelia? The traditions that demand purity of appearance and lineage? You shame your throne by standing with outsiders." Zarina did not flinch. She had heard this before countless times. Yet now she had proof of a different path. "I have not forgotten my people. I have chosen to rise above their prejudices." Tradition is not always wisdom. Judgment based on looks does not define leadership. Strength, courage, and intelligence do. And that is what we offer. An alliance built on substance, not vanity. The chamber fell silent. Even the skeptics were forced to reconsider the queen who had survived countless rejections, yet commanded respect with clarity and purpose. Humans and Krelian ships moved in coordinated demonstration outside, showing the power of unity. The display was subtle but effective. Ships moved in formations that showcased strategy over brute force, signaling that this alliance was not to be dismissed. Later, in the quiet of the observation lounge, Zorina allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. She looked at Adrian, who had watched her navigate the council with calm confidence. "You make it seem easier than it is," she said softly, facing them, standing firm. "Humans make it feel less frightening." Adrian shook his head. "You make it easy, Zorina. Humans respond to action, to leadership, to courage. You have all three. I am merely following your example." Zorina felt a warmth spread through her chest, a feeling she had not allowed herself to experience in years. She had trusted few, loved none, and yet here was someone who valued her for her mind, her skill, her decisions. She realized the bond between them had grown beyond alliance and respect. Over the following weeks, the alliance proved its worth. Joint patrols secured trade routes. Humans shared innovative technology with her fleet, and Zorina's tactical decisions saved lives in skirmishes that tested both fleets. The galaxy watched with growing astonishment. A queen, once rejected for her appearance, had united species through courage and intellect. A human stood proudly by her side, a partner in strategy, symbolizing the possibility of cooperation that transcended prejudice. Not all were pleased. Rival Krelian nobles continued to spread rumors and threats, claiming that no human had the right to stand beside a queen. They sent emissaries demanding Zorina's loyalty and chastising her for her improper alliance. Zorina met them with calm defiance. A queen's duty is to her people, to her fleet, and to survival. If that means seeking allies where others see none, then so be it. I will not be judged by the shallow standards of appearances. I will be judged by action, courage, and wisdom. That is all that matters. Adrian watched her, impressed not just by her words, but by the unwavering resolve in her eyes. He stepped closer. "Your strength inspires loyalty, not just among humans, but among those who see the truth. You have a rare gift, Zorina. You make others see what is possible." For a moment, Zorina allowed herself to imagine a different future, a galaxy that valued courage over vanity, substance over superficiality, and where humans and Krelian could work together to create a safer, stronger universe. And she realized something even more personal. She could imagine that future with Adrian by her side. It was a thought that startled her. She had spent centuries accustomed to solitude, to rejection, to the sting of isolation. Yet here, with this human standing beside her, she felt a strange, comforting certainty. He had not flinched at her appearance. He had not mocked her. He had respected her, fought for her, and now stood with her in front of the galaxy. The tension of the day faded, replaced by a quiet confidence. Zorina knew that opposition would never fully disappear. The galaxy was not yet ready to accept change. But she had allies who shared her vision, who valued her not for what she looked like, but for who she truly was. That truth was more powerful than any insult, more enduring than any attack. Weeks passed, and the alliance continued to strengthen. Human technology improved Krelian systems, while Krelian experience in space battles enhanced human tactics. Together, they achieved successes that neither could have accomplished alone. And everywhere they went, whispers of astonishment followed them. A human beside a queen, fighting, leading, and thriving. One evening, after a successful patrol, Zorina and Adrian stood on the observation deck together. Stars stretched endlessly before them, cold yet beautiful, a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy. "You have changed more than the Council, Zorina," Adrian said quietly. "You have changed me too. I did not know what to expect when we first met, but now I see strength, courage, and wisdom that go beyond anything I imagined." Zorina met his gaze, feeling the weight of unspoken words between them. "And you have changed me," she admitted. "Humans, they do not judge as harshly as my own people. They see what matters. You make me believe that I am more than rejection, more than appearances, more than what others think of me." Adrian smiled faintly, his dark eyes meeting hers. You are more than that, Zarina. Always have been. I simply helped you see it. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. The galaxy was vast and uncertain, but here, on this small observation deck, they found clarity, trust, and a shared understanding. Zarina felt a surge of resolve. The path ahead would not be easy. Critics and enemies would continue to test her. Yet she was no longer alone. Humans and Krelian together could face anything, and in the quiet of space she allowed herself a rare hope, a hope that extended beyond fleets and alliances. Beyond strategy and diplomacy, the galaxy was watching. Word of Queen Zarina's alliance with humans had spread far and wide, stirring astonishment, anger, and curiosity. Many species could not believe that a Krelian queen, once mocked for her appearance, had partnered with humans, creatures they considered small and weak. The audacity of her actions challenged centuries of tradition. Yet Zarina no longer cared about disbelief or ridicule. She had fought, endured, and proved herself in the eyes of those who truly mattered. Her fleet, repaired and strengthened by human engineering, patrolled the sector with confidence. Every ship, every officer, every crew member had witnessed firsthand the power of courage, intelligence, and loyalty over superficial judgment. Captain Adrian Cole stood beside her on the observation deck of the neutral station, where the next council would convene. The council members, some curious, some hostile, had gathered again, expecting drama or perhaps humiliation for the Queen. "You ready for this?" Adrian asked, his dark eyes calm but attentive. Zarina smiled faintly, a smile of quiet confidence. "I have never been more ready. Let them watch. Let them see what true leadership looks like." The doors opened and Zarina entered with her human allies behind her. The council's murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many whispered about the Queen's unusual appearance. Some openly scoffed at the humans who followed her. But Zarina walked with her head held high, radiating authority and confidence. "Representatives of the galaxy," she began, her voice steady. "I come not to plead or to seek approval. I come to present the future. A future where alliances are built on respect, courage, and shared purpose, not on appearances. Humans have stood by me when others refused. They have proven their worth, their loyalty, and their strength. I invite you to witness what can be achieved when judgment is set aside and action is valued." The chamber was silent. Even those who had mocked her found it difficult to respond. Outside, human and Krelian ships moved in perfect formation, demonstrating seamless coordination and strategy. It was a subtle yet undeniable statement. Unity was power. One alien elder finally spoke, his voice strained with disbelief. "Queen Zarina, you dare to stand with humans. They are weak, untested, unworthy of a Krelian alliance. Why do you risk everything for them?" Zarina's gaze did not falter. "Because strength is not measured in appearances nor loyalty in tradition. Humans have proven themselves in ways that matter. They have fought alongside me, defended my fleet, and upheld honor when others would have faltered. They have shown that worth lies in courage, intellect, and integrity, and that is why they stand with me." The chamber murmured again, some with awe, some with unease. Her words carried weight not because of the Queen's appearance, but because of her undeniable accomplishments and the undeniable loyalty of her allies. Over the following cycles, Zarina and Adrian worked closely to strengthen the alliance. They shared knowledge, technology, and tactics, forming a coalition that was stronger than any single species alone. Krelian ships, guided by human strategy, performed maneuvers previously thought impossible. Humans, guided by Krelian experience, mastered deep space logistics and fleet coordination. Together they became a force that none could ignore. Yet even as their alliance grew stronger, opposition remained. Rival nobles, still bitter from past rejections, tried to undermine Zarina's authority. They sent messages of warning and threats of attack, claiming that no human had the right to stand beside a queen. Zarina met these threats with calm defiance. "I answer to my people, my fleet, and the duty of leadership," she said to her council. "If others judge us by appearances, it is their failing. We judge by results, by courage, by action. That is how the galaxy will remember us." Adrian stood beside her, offering silent support. His presence was more than symbolic. It was proof that alliances, trust, and loyalty could overcome prejudice. Together, they inspired others to rethink old beliefs and recognize the potential of unity. The culmination of their efforts came when Zarina received a formal challenge from the Felric faction. They demanded a duel of fleets, expecting to humiliate the Queen and crush the human alliance. But Zarina did not falter. "We face them not with fear but with strategy," she said to her officers. "We fight not to prove beauty or tradition, but to prove courage, wisdom, and unity. Every ship, every soldier, every mind will act with purpose. Victory will be ours because we are united." The battle was fierce. Felric ships attacked with speed and firepower. But the coordinated Krelian human fleet was prepared. Adrian led a tactical wing, anticipating enemy movements and guiding Zarina's ships with precision. Zarina's commands were clear, concise, and confident. Together they executed maneuvers that outsmarted the Felric forces, turning their aggression into vulnerability. Amid the chaos, Zarina noticed the loyalty and courage of the humans beside her. They risked everything without hesitation. For the first time, she realized the true depth of their commitment. They were not fighting for reward or obligation. They were fighting for respect, trust, and something greater than themselves. By the battle's end, the Felric forces were forced to retreat. Zarina's fleet remained intact, her allies unharmed. The victory was decisive, a clear statement that the Queen's leadership and her unusual alliance could not be ignored. After the battle, Zarina and Adrian stood together on the deck of her flagship, watching the stars. The weight of their achievement settled over them, a mix of relief, pride, and anticipation. "You have changed more than the outcome of this battle," Adrian said quietly. "You have changed the way the galaxy will see Krelian leadership and perhaps the way it will see humans too." Zarina smiled, a genuine, unguarded smile that reached her eyes. "And you have changed me. I had long accepted rejection as a rule of life. You showed me that loyalty, courage, and respect matter more than appearances. You made me believe that I am worthy of trust, and perhaps love." Adrian's dark eyes softened. "Zarina, you are worthy of all that and more. I would be honored to stand by your side, not just as an ally, but as your partner." Zarina's heart quickened. She had never imagined such a possibility, and yet here it was, a future filled with partnership, trust, and mutual respect. She took a deep breath and nodded. "Then let it be so, Adrian. Together we face the galaxy, and together we will build a future worth seeing." The news of their union spread quickly. Across the Krelian Empire and human colonies, whispers of disbelief gave way to admiration. The Queen, who had been rejected for her appearance, had found a human willing to fight, strategize, and stand beside her as equal. Their partnership became a symbol, proof that courage, intelligence, and integrity mattered more than shallow judgments. On the day of their union, held on a neutral station, representatives from multiple species gathered. The ceremony blended Krelian traditions with human customs, symbolizing the unity of two cultures. Zarina's appearance was no longer a subject of mockery. She walked with pride and confidence, knowing that those present judged her not by scales or symmetry, but by leadership, courage, and heart. Adrian stood beside her, strong, calm, and supportive. When he took her hand, it was more than a gesture. It was a promise of partnership, respect, and loyalty. In that moment, Zarina felt a joy she had never known, a sense of completeness that transcended all past rejection and pain. As the stars stretched endlessly outside the station's windows, Zarina realized that her journey had changed not only her own life but the galaxy itself. Old prejudices were challenged, new alliances were forged, and humans and Krelian alike had learned the value of unity, courage, and respect. And in that vast, infinite expanse, Queen Zarina finally understood a simple truth. Worth was never defined by appearance. Worth was defined by courage, wisdom, loyalty, and heart. And she had found all of those and more in the most unexpected of places. Her eyes met Adrian's, and in them she saw the future, bright, full of possibility, and shared together. The galaxy had doubted her, mocked her, and rejected her. But she had endured, she had fought, and she had been recognized for who she truly was. Together they would face whatever came next. Together, they would build a future where unity mattered more than vanity, where courage mattered more than fear, and where love and respect conquered judgment. For the first time in her long life, Queen Zarina felt completely at peace. She had survived rejection, she had defied the galaxy's shallow expectations, and she had found something no one could ever take away, a human who loved, respected, and stood beside her. The stars outside stretched endlessly, full of danger and promise. And Zorina, once rejected by all, now stood stronger than ever, ready to lead, not alone, but with a human at her side. The galaxy would never forget the queen who refused to be judged by appearances, the human who saw her true worth, and the alliance that changed the course of history. And somewhere deep in space, among the stars, hope, courage, and unity shone brighter than any distant sun.